Good evening. This is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Amelyn Veloso. The official papal visit theme song puts it perfectly. We are all God's children. Pope Francis's visit may have concluded last Monday, but the faithful will forever remember their personal encounters, our own spiritual journey with the leader of the church. These make up the successful visit of Pope Francis in the Philippines. Tonight, we have the different stories of encounter with Pope Francis, and later on the show, a post-mortem with the papal visit organizers. Now we have with us tonight Mark Eric Lim, a ground handler of PAL, or Philippine Airlines, who received Pope's Zukito, and Father Florge C., a Jesuit priest among those met by Pope Francis outside his itinerary. So, good evening to both of you.
Good evening.
So, I don't know where to start, but basically I'd like to know more about Pope Francis, but let's tell your stories first. So, Mark, you exchanged your Zukito.
Yes.
First of all, okay, did you really plan this? Did you really think about it beforehand?
Yes. Before the papal arrival, I had a lunch with a priest friend of mine. So I told my priest friend, oh, the Pope is arriving in Manila. So what's the best thing I can offer to the Pope? So the priest told me that there's a silent tradition within the clergy that you can offer a Zukito for the Holy Father.
That's the skull cap, the white one.
Yes.
This is not the one that was blown away by the wind when he arrived, right?
No.
I see. So you really, you thought about this, but then you also thought of the possibility that he may not exchange it with yours.
Yes.
I see. So this is what we have here, right?
Yes.
So this is the famous Zukito of Pope Francis.
Yes.
But before we show it, let's talk first to Father Florge C. So Father Florge, you were one of those who met with Pope Francis after the MOA event.
Yes, I was very fortunate to be part of the group. There were like 40 Jesuits who met him after his the MOA event, that meeting with the families.
Meeting with families, yes.
And we were at the Nunciature at the time, so we waited for almost an hour before he arrived. And then it was just a wonderful meeting with the Pope. You know, he was in his elements. He was joking around. He was so informal. He was laughing. He was sharing with us so many things. And then as a matter of fact, it turned out, when he arrived, and then he told us, just ask questions. Everyone asked questions. It was so free willing. It was you can ask him anything under the sun. And as a matter of fact, the original schedule, the original time was just for like 30 minutes, but I think it exceeded up to like 40, 45, 50 minutes, almost an hour.
Who are you with in this?
Brother Jesuits, our brother Jesuits. There were,
I see.
the Jesuits, there are around 270 of us, and only 40 were invited to that particular
How were you
meeting.
chosen, the 40?
It was Father Provincial who I think selected the group who would accompany him or would be there to meet the Pope. So we were 40. When you look at the composition of the group, we actually represented the whole of the Philippine province Jesuits. There were the presidents of the universities were there. Those who worked in the rural areas were there. Those who worked in the prison ministry also. And I am also in the healthcare, and I was there. And then there were also foreman scholastics. There were 2 young novices, and then those information. So it was really a mixed group, like a representative of the entire Society of Jesus here in the Philippine province.
And Mark, you were really with a mixed group, as in you were in the crowd.
Yes.
How did you get the Pope's attention?
Well, because it was during the arrival of Pope coming from Tacloban. We were advised that the Pope is arriving ahead of schedule due to the inclement weather in Tacloban. So when the plane arrives, so the people were lining up, and then I will always tell people I was on the right place on the right time. So when I saw the opportunity to present the gift to the Pope, and I did my thing.
What was that thing that you
So I hide the new Zukito that I bought from Rome.
did? Yes.
I put it on my pocket, and then I line up in the line where he's going to pass. So when he's approaching me, I think 2 persons before my turn, I already got my sukito and then tried to fix it so I can personally offer it to the Pope.
Yeah, a lot of people saw that. And what did you say? Did you call Pope Francis? Pope, what did you say?
I called Padre Jorge.
Padre Jorge.
Yeah, a solideo coming from the Filipino people working in the airport.
I see.
Yes.
So he looked at you.
Yes.
And then what happened next?
And then he took his cup, the skull cup he's been using,
Yes.
and then I think he was trying to measure if it fits with the skull cup that I have and the one he's wearing.
Yes.
So after if it fits, you can see that on the video, he graciously gave it to me.
Yes.
And then when we really traded skull caps.
And let's open this one. This is the one, right?
Yes. So
this is the one worn by Pope Francis when he went to Tacloban.
yes. So I had 2 rosaries as part of the gift.
Yeah.
And then a picture wearing this one.
Yes.
And then this one.
Okay. I know you don't want us to touch it, right? So
Yes.
that it will just have Pope's DNA.
Yes. So this is the one.
So what do you plan to do with this one?
This will be definitely a part of a family heirloom. So this will be kept by the family. The same way, I think that will be my constant reminder that once in my lifetime, I have met the Pope. And so whatever journey that we'll have, it will just be reminding me that I have a Pope's blessing. So I think that's it.
Father Flores, you did say that each of you had a chance to talk to Pope Francis or ask him a question. What was your question?
Well, not everyone, because like the time is very much limited. But there were Jesuits who asked questions to him. And if I remember, if I can recall some of the key questions that were asked, the first one I think was when he was asked by a Jesuit what his impression was of the Filipino people. And then he actually, as a matter of fact, he joked, he said, I'm just here for a second, this is my second day, so he cannot really say something about, he mentioned about this writer who went to Argentina for 1 week. Then after being in Argentina for 1 week, he wrote about the history and everything about Argentina, and the book sells like hotcake, you know. So that he said, but I'm just here in 2 days. But then what he mentioned was his encounter of Filipinos in Argentina and in Rome. And he said, you see, the Filipinos are everywhere. In the cocina, in the kitchen, you see a Filipino. In the reception area, there's a Filipino, and so on and so forth. And then plus, with this encounter, he said, you know, he noticed something which is particular about the Filipinos. And what is that? That he says a profound sense of dignity.
Profound sense of dignity.
Yes, or elevated sense of dignity, the profound sense of dignity. And he said he cannot explain that. And he can only attribute it to our faith. And that's something he said, you know, I cannot explain that, but I just see, you know, they're very much into, even though how menial is their work, but they have this sense of dignity, which is so profound, and that could only come from the faith. And he said, it's a wonderful, really sharing from the Pope. You know? And then I remember, because I'm a doctor and I take care of the Jesuits, the infirm and the old Jesuits, and I also ask him, so, Holiness, how do you take care of your health? How are you taking care of your health? And everyone just laughed, you know. And he said that, that is confessional. Confessional. He said, I'm not following my confessor. I know he was joking like that. So it was, the mood was like that, you know, the mood was like that. We were asked to be there at around 6:30 because that's supposed to be the start of the meeting, but he arrived around 7:30 because he lingered more in at MOA. And then, but the moment he entered where we were, instead of going right away to the front, he passed through the back, you know, and that was very. When you read that, he wanted to really reach out to everyone, you know, because the tendency, if you stay in front, you just meet those who are in front. But
So
there were
really
several
found a way.
rows, so he really went to the back and then greeted everyone. So we had a chance, everyone had a
So
chance
that's
to
really
kiss.
how he is. He really wants to see each and
And
everyone.
then I heard that Cardinal Chito said, oh my goodness, the Pope broke the protocol. And then this is what he loves.
Breaking protocols, the revolutionary
He wants to be as personal as possible.
So both of you, well, I could only say that you both received special blessings from God.
Yes.
In that sense,
And
Yes.
I know, Mark, you did say that after meeting the Pope, it was as if you were relieved relieved of whatever past sins that you have,
Yes.
right? So how did, okay, my last question to both of you. This experience you had, this encounter you had with Pope Francis, how did it change you, Mark?
I guess it's more of a new journey. It's like me trying to really not be a good person, but try to be living a good life out of the experience, looking outside the box. After this, I always tell to myself na I need to have a renewed start. In my own little way, I should have increased my circle of influence in living a normal life that is focused, that is centered through God. So I guess that is my challenge as a person.
Like your mission also.
Yes, yeah, my mission.
How about you, Father Florge?
I received a text from a dear friend, and he said, you must be so proud as a Jesuit and as a Filipino, and because you have the chance, the opportunity to meet the Pope personally. And I texted back and I said, I'm proud as a Jesuit, but I'm prouder as a Filipino because of what we've shown to the world, how we can really welcome the Pope in that sense. And this experience of the Pope really is something wonderful, not just for us who had this close encounter with the Pope, but for the entire country, you know. And I think what we have to take seriously is the message of the Pope. The Pope, we shall not have the Pope all the days of our lives, but the message hopefully will remain in our hearts. And if there's one message that he's reminding all of us is that to always allow Christ to be present in ourselves so that we can go to the peripheries.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Yes.
Mark Eric Lim and Father Florge C., thank you so much, and thank you.
Thank you.
Good
Welcome.
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening to both of you. We'll have a short break. When we come back, more stories of encounters with Pope Francis. Please stay with us.
Gusto talaga namin siya makita kasi once in a lifetime namin.
And even kung ma-wave lang niya kami, that would be a blessing.
Para magpa-bless po kami sa kanya, then nararamdaman namin yung presensya ng Diyos na siya yung sinugo talaga na ng salita ng Diyos.
It brings life to our Catholic faith. It gives us a sense of identity, a sense of purpose, a sense of unity together with the larger church all across the world. It doesn't matter the typhoon or the earthquake or whatever tragedy, but I don't think that shakes our faith.
Bakit po pumapayag ang Diyos na may ganitong nangyayari? Kahit walang kasalanan ng mga bata. At bakit kaunti lang ang mga tao tumutulong sa amin?
Pero tengan la seguridad de que Jesús no defrauda.
But please know, Jesus never lets you down.
In the name of every Filipino whom you have strengthened in faith these past days, maraming salamat po.
Welcome back to News.PH. I'm Amelyn Veloso. We have with us Boots Ansanroa, one of the families that Pope Francis has met in MOA Arena, and Miss Alan Corpus. She's a mother of the child blessed by Pope Francis in UST. And to give us, more details about this meeting with the Pope, Ma'am Boots, I know even as early in 1981, your family also met Pope John Paul, now Saint John Paul, and now you have another chance to
We have
meet
been
Pope
so
Francis.
blessed at both occasions.
Yes.
In 1981 with my late husband Pete, and our children, Chiki, who's now among you at age 11. It was a smaller gathering. We were chosen, 3 families were chosen representing Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. And we were in a room. We were cloistered in a room, not in a big auditorium like the MOA. So it was a really closer face-to-face encounter. And I had this experience which I can never forget. I got so mesmerized, so tantalized, so nervous that when Pope John Paul II talked to me and asked me, "So, how are you?" All I could say was, "I'm fine, sir." This after, after making kulit to my children, "Your Holiness, Your Holiness, Your Holiness." And Chiki, who is now very active in media, she was 11 at that time, the Pope touched her here and said, "Que mona," meaning how cute or how pretty. And so after that, she said, "Mommy, I'll never wash my face again." And now that Pope John Paul is a saint, she keeps on teasing her siblings and her cousins. "Nako ha, relic ito, relic."
And now you did get a chance to meet Pope Francis again with a meeting with families.
Yes, it's like my marriage, second time around.
Yeah, that's right, that's right.
And this time with the family I married into, the Rodrigo family, with my husband, Attorney King Rodrigo, reading the message on behalf of all the families at the MOA, and my 100-year-old mother-in-law, Remedios Enriquez Rodrigo, who's very close to the church and who's also a papal awardee, among other awards that she had received from the church. She was supposed to present the garland. But when we all got surprised that the Pope came to us, went down the platform and came to us instead of us going to him, we all got so flustered and so, we were just so mesmerized. So my mother-in-law just took his hand, just kept on kissing his hand and saying, thank you, I hope I'm worthy of this. I love you, Your Holiness." She forgot all about the garland that I placed in her hands. And she forgot about 2 pieces of crosses that she had wanted blessed personally, one for the family and one for the parish priest of Mount Carmel, where the Rodrigo resident is situated. So we had to remind her. So it was a beautiful, beautiful experience that my husband, my mother-in-law, and his siblings, all of us were there with the in-laws.
Were you overwhelmed still this time? And what did you say to Pope Francis?
I didn't address him as anything. I did say Your Holiness several times. And when he whispered, "Please pray for me," as I understand he is want to whisper, I just said, "Yes, Your Holiness, and thank you again." Thank you again.
Now, Alan, your situation was different because you just took a chance. You attended the UST event and you were there. What was your plan? What were you thinking when you were there at UST? Ano ba iniisip mo nung naandoon ka? Para talagang pagdating mo ba sa UST, naisip mo na kailangan makita ko talaga ang Santo Papa?
Pinagdasal ko po sa Black Nazarene talaga na mailapit ko si Baby Dylan para makapagpasalamat kasi nabigyan ko siya ng second chance para mabuhay.
Ikwento mo nga sa amin si Baby Dylan.
Si Baby Dylan po, ito po siya noon, 2 kilos, 6 months before siya maoperahan sa Philippine Heart Center po. Bumagsak na lang po yung timbang niya, hindi na po siya nag-gain ng weight. Then, naoperahan po siya noong October 13. Tapos, okay naman po yung surgery niya, kaya tumaba na po. Ito na po siya ngayon.
So that's Baby Dylan. Ilang buwan na siya ngayon?
9 months
9 months na si Baby Dylan. So, dahil dito sa parang, it's a miracle ba? Naging mahirap pa itong surgery ni Dylan?
Kasi yung sakit po ni Baby, isa na daw po yun sa pinakamalalang sakit sa puso. Bali, detransposition of the great artery with ventricular septal defect.
So, sumulat ka may sulat ka, right?
Opo. Isa po ito sa mga picture na inabot ko kay Pope Francis na naglalaman po ng pasasalamat at saka include po niya si Baby Dylan para mapabilis po yung pag-recover niya.
So, winish mo ito kay Nazareno pa, na ma-meet mo talaga si Pope Francis. So, ano ang nung araw na iyon? That was a Sunday. Ano ang naisip mo nung papunta? Ang daming tao.
Sobrang aga po kaming nagising, mga 3:00 po ng madaling araw. Pinila ko na po si Baby Dylan, pero sa kabilang lane po kami, kabilang lane po kami ng Espanya. So sabi po ng asawa ko, mahirap na po na makita namin si Pope. Sabi ko, mag-try ko, baka papasukin po ako sa kabilang lane. Sumingit po ako sa mga delegates. Nakalusot naman po kami. So, nung po, malapit na kami sa gate 4, nakiusap po ako sa mga pulis na nasa harapan na kung pwede pong palapitin kami kasi si Baby Dylan kaka-opera lang po niya. Pinagbigyan naman po kami. Pero nung parating na po si Pope, nakasakay po siya sa Volkswagen po. So, hindi po siya nakatingin sa amin. Hindi po siya na-bless pa. Pero nung umulan na po, nakiusap po kami na baka po pwedeng papasukin si Baby kasi basang-basa na po. Pinapasok naman po kami. Tapos yun, nung nakiusap po ako sa PSG po na baka pwedeng makalapit po ako kay Pope para ibigay itong letter namin kay Pope Francis. Pero ang hirap po eh.
So,
ang sabi po na lang, nag-abang na lang po ako sa may guardhouse. Tapos nung papalabas na po si Pope, bumaba na po ako. Tapos gusto nila akong patawagin sa kabilang lane para taga-Vatican po ang magtaas kay Baby Dylan. Kaso po, dumadaan na po yung convoy niya. So, hindi na po ako nakatawid kasi madidisgrasya kami. Ang ginawa ko po, tinaas ko na lang po si Baby Dylan. Tapos siya na lang po yung nag-lay nung kamay niya sa noo po ni Baby Dylan. Tapos inabot ko po yung envelope. Nung una ayaw niyang tanggapin. Pero Pope Francis, this is for you. Kako po sa pangatlong beses din inabot po niya. Pero sobrang bilis po yun eh. Pero kahit na sobrang bilis po nung time na yun, parang kaming tatlo lang po. Sa sobrang dami ng tao, parang kaming tatlo lang po yung nandun.
Yun ang pakiramdam mo.
Parang
nawala lahat, kayo lang. Yung moment na yun na hinawakan niya si Baby, anong naramdaman mo nung hawak-hawak ni Pope Francis si Baby Dylan?
Mabilis po yung pagkakahawak niya, pero parang ang saya-saya po, parang tumigil po yung mundo para sa amin.
Gaano ka-importante yun na ma-meet mo si Pope Francis or mahawakan ni Pope Francis si Baby Dylan?
Napaka-imposible po kasi na makalapit kami sa kanya, ma'am. Kasi, pero milagro po na nakalapit kami. Gumawa po ng paraan ng Diyos para mailapit ko si Baby Dylan sa kanya.
Tingin mo ba na yun ang parang nagbibigay din ng nakagaan ba yun sa loob mo? Considering na may nararamdaman yung anak mo.
Opo, ma'am. Kasi ma'am, si Baby Dylan, wala po kaming kapera-pera noon. Dapat po maoperahan na siya bago siya mag-anim naman kasi 6 months lang po ang taning niya. Kung hindi po siya maoperahan, mamamatay po siya. Ang ginawa ko po, lumapit po kami sa mga pwede kong lapitan. Hindi naman po kami nabigo. Kaya yung...
So as a thank you.
Opo, kasi nabigyan siya ng second chance para mabuhay.
Wow.
Yan po.
Alam mo, this is the second, is this the second Pope or did you meet also Pope Benedict?
No, just Pope John Paul and this one, Pope Francis.
Is it the same feeling? Yung parang kayo lang doon sa loob, sa room or something, when you see him eye to eye, when you get to kiss that ring?
Siguro mga Pope and personalities like him, leaders of billions of people, billions of Catholics, they probably have not only that charisma gift, but the grace to make you feel na ikaw lang ang kausap niya, ikaw lang ang binibigyan niya ng attention at that particular point. Siguro kasi nga, nakatuon talaga yung pansin niya sa kung sino yung mga kausap niya. Diba?
How about in your, does it somehow change you? Anong effect sa'yo? This opportunity that you had this encounter with Pope Francis. And then with that, does it change something within you? Does it make you want to do something?
Most definitely, most definitely. I cannot speak of metanoia or conversion at this point, but the change that I feel now emanates from the proclamations of Pope Francis about learning how to beg, learning how not to be too efficient, too self-sufficient, being more vulnerable like children, especially nung Sunday, Feast of Santo Niño, being more dependent on others, being more childlike, vis-a-vis being childish, being more obedient. Yun yata yung pumasok sa kalooban ko. And equally, I was struck by his words about dreaming.
Oh, yes. Yeah. If you lose the capacity to dream,
then you lose the capacity to love. That we should all dream.
Yeah, diba? For our children, yun ang sabi niya. parang managinip para sa mga anak mo, sa family mo.
Yeah, and he was citing Saint Joseph,
Yes.
who seems to be one of his patrons, as a foremost dreamer, di ba?
Yes.
His, yung apparitions niya about the Blessed Virgin came in dreams, in forms of dreams. And we do get our inspiration, we do get answers to many of our prayers, sometimes in dreams, di ba?
And I see you've also been reading on Pope Francis as well.
I know. I want to thank the Jesuits, the Jesuit Communication Foundation, where I sit in its board, for this gift, very timely gift, that was given to us in, first in July, then another one in December. Para bang pinagtip ng tadhana na mabasa ito bilang paghahanda sa pagharap ng pamilya Rodrigo sa Papa. No? It's been very helpful, very inspiring. And it talks about the leadership qualities of Pope Francis, how as a leader he has remained, he has kept his feet rooted on the ground. And if I may, no, tatlo yung napakahalaga dito na sinasaad, na sinabi niya, that one, we should be ourselves, know ourselves well, and yet be able to rise above ourselves, transcend ourselves, to be able to serve others. Ang ganda-gandang,
know
medyo
ourselves
paradoxical,
and transcend,
no?
and to be able to serve others. Okay.
Tapos, to serve this world, to live and serve in this world, but not be of this world. Huwag tayong malulong sa attractions ng mundo kasi marami. At yung isa pa ay, yes, we have to keep our everyday work, we have to keep active, and yet at certain points of the day, we should take minute moments to reflect, at para ma-appraise natin kung tama ba itong ginagawa ko ito, hindi yung kilos lang ng kilos. I like what he said about the grace of being able to keep still. Keep still. Kasi ang sabi ng nanay ko sa akin, no, may langgam daw ako sa katawan, hindi ako mapakali.
So I guess these are the things that the Pope really wants us to not only look at him but also to hear his messages. How about you, Alan? Ano ang sasabihin mo kay baby Dylan once he gets older? Anong ikukwento mo sa kanya tungkol kay Pope Francis? Anong sasabihin mo sa kanya?
Siya po yung Pope na napakabait kasi mahilig po siya sa mga bata. Siya po yung Pope na anghel.
So I guess ito yung mga, these are the things that we would remember him by. Many of the messages that he brought with us during this particular papal visit.
Alam mo, Amelyn, kanina nakikinig ako, yung mga sinabi noon ni Ambassador Painor, no, in his interviews, na wow, napakalawak nung kanilang ginawa as security committee members. And true, dapat nating makomend yung the army, the different parts of the armed forces, all of those who took care of the security, the protocol. Tama yun, kasi kumbaga sa atin sa media, tayo ngayon nakaharap sa camera, pero hindi naman makukumpleto yung shows kung wala yung ating mga cameramen, our production assistants, our soundmen, our technical people. And these were the people behind the cameras, behind the scenes, without whom the papal visit wouldn't have been a success. Umpisahan na natin kay Bishop Soc Villegas, kay Cardinal Tagle, and all of those in the committee. And most of all, pasalamatan siguro natin, bigyan natin papuri yung mga kababayan natin, Amelyn, na pumunta sa Luneta, pumunta sa Tacloban.
Who stood even as under the rain. Parang si Allen talagang naghanap ng paraan para makapunta doon. Kahit mahirap at maulan pa nung Sunday, di ba?
Sabi ko
and
nga,
yet, diba?
Basang-basa po si baby Dylan, pero never siyang nagkasipon, nagkalaglag. Actually, nawala pa nga po yung ubo niya.
Nawala pa yung ubo
niya.
So it is part of the miracle, yes.
Yes. Sabi ko nga, mas maraming pogi points sa Diyos. Katulad ng mga pumunta doon. And great leveler talaga yung okasyon because yung mga pumunta sa Luneta, maraming mga executives, mayayaman,
But you
powerful
couldn't
people.
tell the difference anymore. We are all God's children. Ika nga anong song.
Naging great
So,
leveler yung visit, no? And these people should be commended. Yung mga napili sa atin, katulad namin, of course, we had long waiting hours and rehearsals. Pero we were in designated seats in the MOA. Pero yung mga naglakad mula Nagtahan, Espanya, kung saan-saan, in the rain, to have a glimpse of him and hope to, kagaya ni Allen, na matouch him. Mas maraming merit yata at maraming indulgences siguro
mas
sila.
maraming merit yun kasi pero I guess siguro all these, it will, we are all praying that this reverberates for a longer period of time, that it won't end just after the papal visit. Well, thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. Alan, I could see baby Dylan, ako, lalaki yan, mag-aasawa, magkaroon ng apo, maaabutan mo pa yan. And Ma'am Boots, it's always a pleasure to talk to you.
And I'm so happy for you. Medyo magyayabang ho ako. Nung namamahala po ako ng isang network, doon po nag-umpisa si Amelyn.
Yes, and news. Yes,
gone a long way and deservedly.
I still remember, I have that picture. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now we'll take a short break. When we come back, we will have Ambassador Marciano Painor and Father Nono Alfonso, who are part of the Papal Visit Committee. Please stay with us. News.PH. We'll be right back.
Tan importante soñar. Primero de todo, soñar en una familia. No pierdan esta capacidad de soñar.
It is so important to dream, and to dream in the family. Please don't lose this ability to dream in this way.
Dejémonos sorprender por Dios.
Let us allow ourselves to be surprised by
No
God.
tengamos tantos de ustedes han perdido todo.
So many of you have lost everything.
Yo no sé qué decirles.
I don't know what to say to you.
Él sí sabe qué decirles.
But the Lord does know what to say to you.
Welcome back to News.PH. I'm Amelyn Veloso. Joining us in this next half of the show is Welcome back to News.PH. I'm Amelyn Veloso. Joining us in this next half of the show is Ambassador Marciano Painor Jr., a member of the Papal Visit Central Committee, and Father Nono Alfonso, Associate Director of the Jesuits Communications Foundation. And this time, let's talk about the Papal Visit and the expectations and the versus the reality. You know, what you really planned for and what happened. So let's start with the crowd estimate. I know, Ambassador, even before you did, I think you did say that we're looking at 6 to 7 million, and it would be higher than the 1995 papal visit.
Yes. Yes, Amelyn, thank you very much. In fact, that was the expectation during the early stages of the planning for the visit. And we even thought that on a worst case scenario, there would be about 10 million. But the reality on the ground was, I think 7 would be a realistic figure. But that's not only for Luneta, it's for all the people who were who participated, whether they were on the streets along Nagtahan Road as the Pope went to UST, or on Quirino Avenue where they staked out the Pope every time he passed by. So I think all told about 7 million.
Now, how about what would you say about the crowd? Because we were expecting that they may be unruly, or it may have what happened during the papal visit in 1995. It might happen again when people will be rushing towards Pope Francis.
About the
estimate, I wanted to add,
okay.
Ambassador, that had it not rained, because it was raining,
Exactly.
Yes,
people are saying that had it not rained, it would have gone up to your estimate, original estimate, the maximum, which is 10 million. You know? But it rained. But, well, of course, the whole world saw how faithful Filipinos are. Come rain, come shine, they will attend this event. So we're very happy, nonetheless.
Right.
Yes.
So we broke our own record, right?
Yes, we did. Well, as far as the expectations on the behavior of the crowd,
yes,
it was certainly something that speaks of us as a people. Prior to the arrival of the Pope, the Church, the government, in collaboration, asked the people to be part of the security of the Pope, in a sense, to be not just to be an audience, but to ensure the Pope's safety and their own safety by staying where they're supposed to stay.
Following the rules.
And I would put, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was a 9.5. It was a 9.5.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
And I heard also that in churches, the priest always reminded the churchgoers that should they attend these activities to, you know, stay in their places, or to be wary, or to follow the rules.
That's correct.
Right?
I was part of the media campaign in the preparations for the papal visit. And Bishop Pablo David asked us, our team, to come up with an infomercial, instructions on what to do, especially when attending public events, so the public masses, the public liturgies. And I think, and these infomercials were repeated, aired repeatedly. And I think that helped a lot, not only because information was shared to many Filipinos through media, but the media practitioners themselves, the anchors, the hosts, they would
continuously remind. We've been, you know,
so
reminding each other, actually.
The reminders, I think, helped a lot.
True.
Now, I did hear that there were those, for example, in the papal nunciature area, that as the days went by, it became thicker and thicker, and somehow they went beyond what they were, where they were supposed to stay. Now, how was that?
That is true. Both sides of the Quirino Avenue, leading towards the nunciature from Ross Boulevard, are residential areas.
Yes.
So we saw an increase in the numbers of the crowds as the days progressed. And because there were more and more people, the Pope's route suddenly became narrower and narrower and narrower. And we discussed this every evening after the Pope's events. We would discuss and we would remind the PNP. But we said, just make sure that the motorcade of the Pope can pass through. And they did a very good job. And I am amazed at how, with linked arms, they would be pushing, in a sense, pushing the crowd, but they would allow the children to pick in between them. And so you'd see a lot of these small heads picking out of the row of blue, police blue, or the maong and white of the other volunteers, the human rights. It's beautiful, and the Pope saw all of this.
Now, what do you have to say about, remember in the Quirino activity in the afternoon, in the wee hours of the morning, there was a bit of a scuffle. There was a problem getting inside the venue, and there were those who were saying that it was, why didn't they allow the people to go inside earlier? Because the crowd was already thick as early as the night before.
And I heard also that the scanners.
Yeah, there were too few scanners. So what are your thoughts about this one?
A lot of, we have been discussing this earlier on, and we were trying to determine the ideal number of gates to enable the crowd to come in, and at what time, and what's the ratio of as they per person, how many seconds would you need for screening, and so on and so forth, with X hundreds of thousands, etc. But what was not considered here was that it was raining. It was raining. A lot of the electronics were affected by the humidity and the rain. In fact, stagecraft had to redo a lot of their connections because they got wet. And there was a problem with the sound system. So they, I think they had about 100 people there going through all of this, the wired cables and so on. So you can imagine what happens at a time like this when, and the people who are going around there had been working for 8-10 hours already.
Yes.
So these are some of the things that happened, but cannot be explained. And therefore, of course, for those who saw, it was like there was a lapse somewhere. But while we have planned for most everything, again, things like this happen. We were not expecting a typhoon because it has never happened.
Did you not take that into consideration that there might be a typhoon, considering we always have typhoons?
We always asked, we looked at the almanac, we looked at probabilities. That's about the only way. No one can predict a typhoon coming. Weather is something that you can never predict. But so scientifically, people go by historical. What is the history?
So January was the less likely time a typhoon would come.
What's the probability that the typhoon would hit in January?
Yeah, but I think that the typhoon was the working of God. It added, some spice,
Some spice?
Yeah, to the whole affair, because precisely the whole world, you would hear this from CNN, Fox News, they were so amazed, this bigger crowd attending an event despite the rains.
That's right.
So they were so amazed at the faith of the Filipino. Yeah.
And then Pope Francis also said that this visit is for me, that somehow it was shown to him what it is really like to be in a typhoon.
Even in Tacloban, for example, Ambassador, this is not my reflection, but somebody said that, remember, the people there have been scared of the rains after after Haiyan.
Right. Of course, yes.
And yet they came out despite the rain because the Pope was there for them. And so it was sort of a healing process for them to go out again in the rains.
And this time it's a different situation.
Yes, because somebody was there with them.
In fact, Amelyn, I asked the head of the Vatican protocol, Dr. Gasbari, and Dr. Gianni, the head of security. I asked if the Pope had experienced a typhoon, and they said this is the first. In fact, this is their first. Every one of them, to the last person, everyone, this was their first. And you can see their concern when we had to tell them that there was a possibility that the Tacloban events could be cancelled. That was prior to our
And there was
departure.
even talk that it may be diverted to Cebu.
No,
there was no talk?
No, that was talk outside. But
there was talk outside.
Yes, but for us, when we discussed these things, and we had to include the chief pilot of Philippine Airlines, Captain Ski Tamayo, and we discussed this together with the executive secretary, who's the chair of the National Organizing Committee, representing the president. We said we will depend on the pilots because they're the best persons who can determine whether the plane can fly under those conditions. So we will defer to their recommendation. And their recommendation was it was good to go. We will make an attempt to land if in case the weather worsens. They will make a first attempt. If they cannot do it on the first attempt, they'll go up, circle around, and together with the tower, determine an appropriate time when they'll be called back in to land to make the second attempt. But we will only make 2 attempts. After the second attempt and we could not land, we were going back to Manila.
I see.
That was the plan. No Cebu, no nothing. No nothing.
But the Pope really wanted to push through with it.
Oh yes, of course. We discussed this with him, and in his presence, both Dr. Gasbari and Dr. Gianni explained to him, and we were around there, and he understood. He understood.
But there were those who were still wondering or questioning why he had to cut it short.
Yeah, of course.
Why did he not stay overnight then?
You see, all of this is what I call Monday morning quarterbacking. In retrospect, but this is all. I say it in a spirit of jest. But really, during those times, you can't imagine the kind of stress that was placed upon us, and especially on the government. Especially on the government. Secretary Ochoa went there ahead, just so he can determine exactly for his own eyes, because after all, he makes the final decision for the government. He went there, and we were discussing, and I said, don't take off until you discuss this with me, but talk about it amongst yourselves, and we did. And so I called him up and I said, sir, it's a go as far as the group here is concerned. He said, okay, he says, but just to let you know, we made 2 attempts. We made 2 attempts. And the wind is getting stronger and the rain was incessant.
Yes, I understand that the pilot did say that in the beginning, he was anticipating that maybe he could stay until 4.
Yes.
But then right there and then they realized they had to leave at a certain time.
Yes, yes. No, in fact, that decision was made as soon as we landed. And before we left the airport, we had to discuss that, and with all the information available from the OST, from Secretary Montejo was also there in Tacloban. They said we should leave no later than 1.
Okay.
And so I had to convey this to Dr. Gaspari, who talked to the Pope while he was vesting, and so they said, okay, it's a go. We will not. We will leave by 1, and so there were activities that were affected.
Okay, so we will pause for a break, but when we come back, let's talk about lessons learned. And let's also talk about the Pope Francis effect. There are those who are saying, will this last beyond 2 weeks here in the Philippines? So we'll talk about that later. When we come back, please stay with us. News.PH. We'll be right back after this short message. Welcome back to News.PH. I'm Amelyn Veloso. Still with us, Ambassador Marciano Painor Jr., a member of the Papal Visit Central Committee, and Father Nono Alfonso, Associate Director of the Jesuits Communications Foundation. Okay, so let's go talk about lessons learned. Were there complaints?
Well,
oh, it seems like there were a lot. Still, right?
I'm sure there were glitches, you know. But given, you have to consider that we were given like really a few months for this big event to prepare. People were saying that for such an international global event, you need at least 2 years.
Is that so?
Yes,
2 years? And we did it for how many months?
Like six months. So we really pulled off a miracle here. Not many would know that. Like for example, we at the media, preparations team, it was just a short time, and we have to thank, of course, our partners in government, RTVM. They were the host broadcaster. They were really working overtime. Yeah, but something like this, it's huge. You need 2 years. We were only given a few months. So.
Oh, yes.
That's true.
Yes,
complaints, there will always be. We can never be 100% in any event. I've handled quite a number of events myself, including 1995, and you can never perfect an event. There will always be something. And the most important thing is to be able to address the issue at the point and at the time that it happens. And here, experience plays a very, very great factor. So a lot of the committee especially have had the advantage of the handling the visit of Pope John Paul. And they drew lessons from that visit.
Yes.
That is one international event, for example. The World Youth Day is an event that happens every 2 years. So, and it is announced, you know, so you have
ahead of time.
You have 2 years to prepare.
True.
So 1995 World Youth Day, they had 2 years to prepare.
And the lessons from the 1995 papal visit, that's why we have the quadrants, and that's why we have the cement barricades and the human barricades and the police, right?
Yes, that's right.
What will we do next time? Should the Pope visit us again?
For me, we have to reiterate, and this is not just because a Pope is visiting, we have to reiterate to our people that whatever trash they bring in, they should take home.
Oh, 20 truckloads of trash in Quirino,
yes,
I remember. But there were those who were already picking up the trash from the very beginning.
That's true.
And even with that?
The improvement is that the following day, everything was clean.
Well, that's true.
Okay, but you compare this to the Korean experience, and we went there just to see and compare so that we can be prepared for the visit here. And in Korea, after the Pope left, the people stayed in where they were seated on the ground, and they left by quadrants. Okay, when they left, they brought everything, as in everything. Within an hour, the whole 1 kilometer long and maybe 800 meters wide avenue where the Mass was held was the huge multitudes of people that were there had already started walking to their designated areas, pickup points, okay? But the whole place was clean within an hour. Very clean, because every single person who went there took out what they brought in, whether it's the plastic container for their water or sandwich tissue paper, whatever, they brought it.
Now, I also heard that there are those who are complaining about that in particular, in the sense that after the Quirino event, it took 3 hours. There was traffic gridlock even after. How could we improve on that? Given the sheer number, of course, and of course it was raining at the same time.
The rains, for me, the presence of the rain is the one single factor that actually contributed to this gridlock more than anything else. More than anything else. Imagine that 99% of the people who attended had been there minimum 5 hours, minimum. The rest were there for 8 hours, the rest for 10 hours. But security forces had been there longer, and they were soaked to the bones. So your first reaction after the event, your adrenaline goes down, you want to go home.
You just want to hit.
And nobody listens to or remembers rules anymore at that point. So you can see why this is so. And so for me, that being so, I think we just need to understand that there was nothing more that we could do. People will say, oh, why didn't you put in more policemen to control the crowds? There weren't any more people to put in there. Imagine we had 58 kilometers of roads that we had to protect.
Yes.
And if there were, per meter you have 2 policemen, that translates to 2 times 1,000 times 108 times 2, because you have one on the left, one on the right. And these people have been there for so long.
Yes.
No replacement. That's why the issue of diapers even came up, and people were laughing, but this is a reality. I mean, you know, so
they should have kept that a secret.
For me, thank these people. Thank these people. They sacrifice.
They have to be commended.
Yes. The police, the army, and they're not the only ones. Even though the Navy and the Coast Guard, they were out there in the tossing waves because of the typhoon and because of the rains. Tacloban especially, Tacloban Palot. The people there should be commended. Every single one who was on the street at that point.
What about the papal coverage, Father Nono? How did the media cover this event?
Let me just say this. The other night, somebody just came up to me I was buying food in a restaurant. A family had been watching, looking at me and all throughout. And when I was about to go, the father approached me and just, I didn't know him, and he just approached me and said, "Father, thank you for the coverage. It helped us a lot. Congratulations." So, and again, so I was very pleased. But if people could only see the preparations we have done, like partnering with Malacanang, and then because in 1995 there was one network, the right to broadcast was given to one network, and so it was chaos afterwards. But this time around, neutral ground, the government took care of. They were the main host of a broadcaster, and then all the other networks pulled and shared their resources. That was beautiful. So
there were many changes, though. I mean, when you were there, I mean, there were rules that suddenly cropped up. Why is that so? Why did that happen?
I think one of the glitches I was saying was media accreditation. That came. The IDs were released late, but of course, because of the number of media personnel that really applied, for ID, for so foreign and local, something like 5,000. How can you give IDs to all of them in a short span of time? So it was really,
I think that the main contributor for many of these last-minute changes were security considerations.
Yes, always.
The main difference between St. John Paul's visit here in 1995 and the visit of Pope Francis now is that when St. John Paul was here, he was in a bulletproof Pope mobile. And therefore, security considerations were less.
The security problem, the threats.
Because you mitigate the threat by putting a physical barrier. In this case, it was free.
That's true.
I mean, nothing.
Because it was the demand of the Pope.
It was his request.
It was his request. So,
it should be deferred.
So that's why during when he's on his way to an event, that's why it travels faster. But when he's inside the event, that's when he can linger on.
Yes, that's correct. He has to travel at a certain speed.
I see.
But you see, this Pope is full of spontaneity. That in spite of the fact that he asked the driver to stop, the driver stops, and a baby is brought to him, and everyone's screaming, and this is the kind of thing that kind of makes all of this stress and being physically tired, etc. You suddenly feel, oh wow, you see one child and the mother, and you can see the face. I tell you, that alone is for us thanks enough. Yes.
Well, what about the loss of signals for yourselves, for the cell phone companies?
For security reasons.
Was that really necessary? Some were saying that it was too much.
Yeah, but
well, yes, Father.
Our main concern really is the security, the safety of the Pope, and what helped also was the telecom themselves. They were. After the silence, they would have a text brigade apologizing and informing people that it's really for the security concern.
So after the fact, I think we must say that it was necessary. It inconvenienced everyone, including ourselves, but it was necessary. Suffice to say that we did everything we could, and this was part of it.
Remember that the papal visit, happened after a series of terroristic attacks.
France,
Australia, Canada. So
it's better to be safe than sorry in the end.
Very true.
But was the objective of the papal visit met?
Of course.
What was the objective?
The objective is for the Pope to be able to visit his flock. He said that in Malacanang, this is primarily a pastoral visit, and he wanted to commiserate with the people in Tacloban, those who were affected by the typhoon. And as you can see, people are still talking about how the Pope affected them, and they're very, very happy. And then, you know, by the number, 7 million attending the final Mass.
But how do we sustain this?
Happy.
How do we sustain that? They call it the Pope Francis effect, you know, from the souvenirs that suddenly everybody's buying because of him. And then they're saying, there are those who are saying that those who haven't been going to church are going to church more often now. But will this last beyond 2 weeks? How do we sustain this?
I think that we can sustain this with the collaboration of both church and government. On the government side, of course, we look at how we can instill in our people discipline that we saw actually exists.
We did.
With just a little bit of effort on our part, and just a little bit of reminding people that, hey, you have to not only think of yourself, you have to think of everyone. So I think we ought to carry that. It was a very good start. We have to sustain it, and at this day and age, the magic word is sustainability. Whatever it is that you're talking about, you have to be able to sustain. And so I think the government has done a very good job, if I may say so myself. And we can, taking this on as an example, then we can move on. But again, you have to look at the first day that the president came into office, this wang thing. Up to now, it has been sustained. So there is no reason for us not to sustain, not to be able to sustain whatever it was that we were able to make people see as very important. Not only for themselves individually, but collectively.
Father Nono.
Well, on the part of the church, did you know that since yesterday, the bishops have been meeting? It's actually the regular annual meeting, the CBCP. So from yesterday till Thursday, I think. And they want to enflesh what they mean by this year being the year of the poor. And coincidentally, of course, that's also the message of the papal visit. Remember when he addressed the bishops and the priests at the Manila Cathedral, he said that at the heart of the gospel is the love of Christ for the poor. If you take that out of the gospel, then you do not understand the message of Jesus Christ. So the coincidence, you know, very happy coincidence. This is the main message of Pope Francis, the centrality of the poor, and here we are celebrating the year of the poor. So right now the bishops are meeting and talking among themselves, how are we going to, precisely your concern, sustain this and flesh this year of the poor.
And Pope Francis did say that it's the vocation of the Filipinos to be outstanding missionaries in Asia.
Yes.
So,
and you know, I'm very happy that even among Filipinos, they've been downloading, getting their own copies of the homilies of Pope Francis and his speeches. We've been asked in media, we are being asked, Father, where can we get the speech, the homily? So I can already, see that there's an attempt to deepen, not just, the euphoria is over, but now there's an attempt to deepen, to go into the, nitty-gritty, the real message of Pope Francis, now that he's gone.
So are we ready if in case Pope Francis comes back to the Philippines? There were talks that he might be back next year. What are your thoughts on that? That's my last question.
Yes, we will be ready for a return of His Holiness, and but I'd like to take this occasion to express my thanks, especially to everyone in government who participated, but especially those who you did not see. These are our policemen, our members of the armed forces, the Navy, the Air Force, the Department of Health, everyone who made an effort to ensure that the Pope's safety is ensured and that his visit here is successful.
Let me thank also our partners in media, including, of course,
9TV.
Yes, 9TV. And our partner in government, Malacanang, RTVM especially. To your question, well, I don't want to be selfish. Of course, we will welcome him, but I don't want to be selfish. there's 1.2 billion Catholics.
So he has other countries to visit, other nations to go.
Let him,
But if he comes back, we're ready.
Of course.
Managing expectations.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Father Nono Alfonso and Ambassador Marciano Painor, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
And thanks to our guests tonight. Thank you for watching and see you again next Wednesday. I'm Amelyn Veloso. Good night.